Yo, check it out, I gotta speak the truth about the hardest working small channel in the crypto booth. He's the crypto father, the one and only, putting in the hours, never getting lonely. He's grinding day and night, making videos for the fans, sharing knowledge and insights, sticking to his plans, analyzing the market, giving tips and advice. The crypto father's got the skills to roll the dice.
I am the Crypto Father. Today is the 1st of May. There's a lot of fun out there. You see the Bitcoin crash, you see the market crash, and you probably wonder, if you're like me, you probably wonder what the hell is going on. And if you're like my wife, you're probably screaming at the top of your lungs, Bitcoin, what's going on with Bitcoin? So in today's video, I'm going to go over some of the things that are probably fighting the market, that are probably the cause for the crash of the market, and so that you don't have to, but I mean, you can always do your research, and there's a lot going on. So strap on your seatbelt, make sure to smash up the like, subscribe to this video, share the content with everybody else who you think may benefit from this video, and let's get to it. Let's start by looking at the crypto market, the overall crypto market. It's a $2.3 trillion, 100 billion in trading volume. As you can see, it's always the case. The overall market is down while the trading volume is up, of course, because that's how it goes. A lot of sales going through, a lot of liquidations happening. It's a bloodbath. Bitcoin below 60,000, Ethereum below 3,000. Tether is unstable. Binance chain dropped below $600, Solana at $124, XRP down to 49 cents, and Cardano is at 43 cents again. So with the exception of Tron, that seems to be pumping like mad. What's going on with Tron? Everything else is red. So first of all, let's go over the arrests. There's a lot of them. It's surprising how many arrests there are. Well, there are actually three. Actually, there's CZ, Roger Ver, yeah, that's new, Roger Ver, and the guys from Samurai Cash, and there's also Tornado Cash, that's also on the table. So there's 4 criminal charges against some major crypto figures, and so that doesn't help the market, does it? But this probably is one of the biggest things that came out just recently. Grieving attack on Bitcoin testnet generates 3 years worth of blocks in a week. This is massive. A grieving attack on the Bitcoin testnet recently caused a surge in network activity, resulting to the generation of over 165,000 blocks, equivalent to 3 years worth of blocks in just 1 week. The attacker, Jameson Lopp, co-founder and chief executive officer of Casa, publicly took credit for the incident, facing backlash from other Bitcoin developers. Lopp defends attack as trivial exploit. Speaking on the decentralized social media platform Nostr, Lopp described the attack as a trivial exploit requiring only 20 lines of code. When questioned whether the griefing attack justified its consequences, Lopp replied that it only cost him electricity worth $1. Lopp defends his actions, arguing that his intent was not malicious but rather aimed at drawing attention to an issue he had previously raised. He emphasized that conventional methods such as communication through development mailing lists had failed to address the identified weakness equivalent. Folks are free to view me as the bad guy, but I'm merely the first to lean into this weakness. I'm championing a cause, and sometimes you have to do more than send an email to get people's attention, he added. The attack involved flooding the testnet with excessive transactions, spamming the network, and dramatically increasing workload. As a result, the network difficulty spiked, leading to the generation of over 165,000 blocks. According to mempool space data, there has been a significant spike in hash rate and difficulty, peaking at 2.315 terahash on April 19th before returning to normal levels at around 86 terahash per second. But April 30th, in the attack's aftermath, Lopp described the griefing incident online as a free stress test, prompting further backlash from the crypto community. He advocated for a reset of Bitcoin's testnet to address the time warp vulnerability and restore mining rewards, which are currently negligible. A member of the Bitcoin Talk thread dubbed the controversy as Testnet War, suggesting that individuals such as Lop should be banned from participating in Bitcoin's testnet activities. The member labeled Lop as a potential threat to the overall security of the Bitcoin network. Weiss commented on X that following the incident, due to the high frequency of new blocks generated hourly, it's impossible to catch up, regardless of syncing speed. He suggested that permissionless testing network might need to be stopped permanently. So this is problematic because if things like that happen on a testnet, I guess the presumption is the testnet is there for a reason. It's there to test what might happen on a real blockchain, right? So if there are exploits possible on a testnet, if there are hacks that can occur on a Bitcoin testnet, then it's quite possible that this could be implemented on the mainnet. And so this is it's scary, I guess, but so that could be a part of a major cause for the downturn, for the FUD that's being released. Bitcoin testnet is being shaken up. So now going to the actual announcement, the jail announcement. This is huge. I didn't even know that CZ was I mean, I knew that he was under investigation, but this came out just recently that he is actually facing jail time. Former Binance CEO CZ's sentence will be announced tomorrow. Here are estimates on how much he will receive. So it has actually already been announced, it seems. Binance founder Changpeng Zhao gets 4-month prison sentence. CZ was sentenced today by a Seattle court to 4 months in jail for violating the Bank Secrecy Act. The 4-month sentence is well below the 36 months requested by the Department of Justice. The scope and ramification of Zhao's conduct were massive, and the 18 months laid out in Zhao's previous plea agreement. Binance's native token dropped 3.4%. Today's decline appears to be attributable to general market volatility and not related to sentencing. Yes and no. I think it all works in combination. But so yeah, CZ gets 4 months in prison. This is a big one. This is the big news breaker that may be breaking the horse's back. In addition to everything else, breaking Bitcoin Jesus Roger Ver arrested, accused of orchestrating 48 million tax scandal. And again, this has been said before. Banks have been paying fines, millions of dollars in fines for different kinds of frauds, but no bankers have ever been put in jail. While all these guys, all these crypto exchange owners, all the CEOs, and all the people like Roger Ver and CZ and Tornado Cash, the CEOs of Tornado Cash, as well as the Samurai Mixer, are being sentenced and put in jail. So this is obviously showing you how skewed the system is, how in favor it is of the status quo of the banks. In a significant development within the cryptocurrency community, Roger Ver, an early investor in Bitcoin, has been indicted by the US Department of Justice on multiple charges, including mail fraud, tax evasion, and filing false tax returns. According to the indictment, Ver owned and operated companies such as MemoryDealers.com and Agilestar.com, which specialized in selling computer and networking equipment. Ver is accused of acquiring Bitcoin for himself and his companies in 2011, amassing a significant fortune in the cryptocurrency. Why he's accused of acquiring Bitcoin for himself and his companies in 2011? What? How can you be accused of acquiring that? That doesn't even make any sense. To evade taxes, Ver allegedly renounced his US citizenship in 2014 through a process known as expatriation, subsequently obtaining citizenship in St. Kitts and Nevis. However, US law required him to disclose and pay taxes and capital gains from his global assets, including the Bitcoin he held. If he denounced his US citizenship, then why is the US law still requiring him to disclose his taxes? If you're not a citizen of a country, whether you were in the past or not, you no longer are, then why are you required to pay taxes to that government? I don't understand that. The indictment further alleges that Ver provided false or misleading information to his legal representatives and appraisers, understanding the value of his companies and Bitcoin holdings. Consequently, he is accused of filing false tax returns that significantly undervalued his asset, evading substantial tax obligations. Prosecutors claim that Ver's actions caused a loss of at least 48 million to the IRS. So the IRS is just pissed that they may have lost a lot of money. But again, if he's not a US citizen, then what the hell do the IRS have to him? Despite no longer being a US citizen, he was legally obliged to report and pay taxes on certain distributions, including dividends from his US-based companies. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense now. However, Ver allegedly concealed his receipt and sale of Bitcoin held by his businesses, failing to report the associated gains and pay the required taxes. Roger Ver has been taken into custody in Spain, where he was arrested on the above charges. As a result, the US is seeking his extradition to stand trial. So this is huge. That's the second person basically to fall, or third, I guess. DOJ opposes Tornado Cash developers' motion to dismiss. So the developers of Tornado Cash have been put on trial, and I guess they've been sentenced. I don't know if they've been sentenced, but they're not getting a dismissal. The Department of Justice is pushing back against a Tornado Cash founder's efforts to have his charges dismissed. Tornado Cash is an Ethereum-based coin mixing system that helps users conceal their digital assets. The US sanctioned the controversial project in 2022 for national security purposes. One of its founders, Roman Storm, was arrested last year and slapped with charges related to allegedly laundering $1 billion in criminal proceeds, including hundreds of millions of dollars for the Lazarus Group, the sanctioned North Korean cyber criminal outfit. The North Korean cyber criminal outfit is just such an oxymoron. It's so weird. It's so weird to hear these two things together, because we know what North Korea is like, and I don't know, it just makes me picture them, these criminal masterminds sitting behind outdated Windows or even Mac computers and clunky monitors and doing their typing. That's my image. Quite likely that they're not, because I mean, you know, the dictatorship, the high people at the very top do have money that would allow them to support these things, but it's just still funny to just the idea of North Korea and cyber criminal outfit. It's like I said, it's such an oxymoron. It's funny. Anyway, so this is the other thing. Additionally, now we've got which I didn't pull out an article here, but now we've got also the founders of the Samurai Mixer, which is a similar thing to Tornado Cash. It was a mixer called Samurai Mixer, and the founders were also arrested, and as they're being, I guess, put on trial. So that's CZ, Roger Ver, 2 or 3 guys from the Tornado Cash app, and then the Samurai Cash. There are also, I think, 2 people. So that's a lot of FUD. So this is what's happening. A lot of people are getting arrested from the crypto sphere. A lot of people in the crypto industry are being arrested and put on trial. And these are major players like CZ, Roger Ver. These are 2 massive figures in the crypto industry. So additionally, HBAR's trajectory takes a dark turn as BlackRock move loses sway. So just recently, a couple of days ago, it was announced that HBAR was partnered up with BlackRock. BlackRock was launching some assets on HBAR. But apparently, BlackRock has refuted that. So BlackRock refuted the statement that they had direct participation in deploying ICS US Treasury money market fund on Hedra's blockchain, as it actually was a partnership between HBAR Foundation and Archax, the first FCA regulated digital asset exchange and crypto broker. So BlackRock is not actually involved with HBAR, and so that caused HBAR to drop in value. I guess they lost, like, what is it, another, they gained 60%, that kind of evaporated, and then another 9% that dropped today or whenever. But so yeah, that's more FUD. So we had an announcement. HBAR was pumping. BlackRock is in on this thing, and now they're saying, no, we're not. Everybody was waiting for the Hong Kong ETFs, and while I announced that just recently that these things were probably not going to create as much pumpage as expected, because despite the fact that it is in Hong Kong and it is mainland China has access to Hong Kong now because they decided to occupy it again, mainland Chinese do not have access to the ETFs that have been launched in Hong Kong. Trading for Asia's first stop crypto ETFs began early this morning in Hong Kong. This is from yesterday, April 30th, offering investors a regulated avenue to buy investments linked to both Bitcoin and ETH. It was a historic debut, but how did it perform despite hopes that there would be a flood of capital waiting to ape these newly established instruments? Given the recent Chinese appetite for gold, mainland investors are unable to purchase these newly established products, limiting their availability to a Hong Kong market that is just 1/108th the size of America's. The Hong Kong population, I guess, is relatively small, and the hope was that Hong Kong launching these ETFs would allow Chinese citizens to flood the market with their cash. But since the Chinese citizens are not allowed to use those ETFs, therefore goes the bubble. Accordingly, activity for the ETFs disappointed on an absolute scale. The combined 12.8 million in volume for both instruments fell short of the 655 million recorded on the debut of the US spot Bitcoin ETFs and came in below issue expectations for 100 million in volume. So that's huge. No money inflows. So that's another red flag. So I guess investors who were hoping that, the prices of Bitcoin and everything else would pump, but they didn't, due to the fact that there simply wasn't enough money coming into those ETFs, probably started selling. And that's what caused even further downtrend in the market. Bitcoin falls under 60k as Bitcoin's futures premium drops to a 5-month low. So the premiums on those ETFs are dropping as well. People are not making as much money as they were and as they were hoping. The price of Bitcoin fell on April 30th, which is yesterday, the unimpressive launch of a spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund in Hong Kong. That was the main cause. Despite expectations of 140 million in demand, the total trading volume, including Ether, on the opening day was just 12.4 million. As a result, the premium of Bitcoin futures dropped to its lowest level in 5 months. Negative pressure stems from weak macro conditions and US spot Bitcoin ETF flows. It is important not to rush to conclusions, as other factors have also weighed on Bitcoin's price. These include diminished investors' confidence in the ability of the United States Federal Reserve to reduce interest rates twice in 2024. This is another thing. The Fed is going to make an announcement. I am a little bit ahead. It's the 1st of May here for me, but it's still April back in the States, so the announcement have not come out yet. But the market, in anticipation of things going south, is basically taking a dive. Quite possibly, just the thing you need to keep in mind that whenever there are sales, there are purchases. So when the market tanks, somebody's selling, but also there's got to be somebody buying. So all the Bitcoin that is being sold right now is being bought up by most likely institutions. So retail investors are selling because they're, scared shitless of what might come if Powell announces quantitative tightening, interest rates go up. Then people will want to have cash in their pocket so they can pay for those interest rates. And the market continues. Fed Chair Jerome Powell is expected to deliver his post-meeting remarks on May 1st. Again, I said I'm ahead, so I don't have these news just yet. So that's coming out in a few hours. And I guess in a few hours we'll know. Today is Wednesday. The announcement will come sometime on Thursday, my time. On Wednesday, anybody else's time who's in the real world, then we'll know. And it's quite likely that we might see, if the announcement is good, if it's positive, then we should see a nice pump back up over the weekend, hopefully a green Thursday. The fourth straight session of net outflows from US-listed spot Bitcoin ETFs has raised concerns among traders. Investors have been withholding funds from the Grayscale XBTC ETF due to its high fees, while the BlackRock IBIT ETF has seen little activity. Therefore, despite the lackluster performance of the Hong Kong spot ETF, the appetite for such investments in the US appears to be waning. So there's the money that was flowing into the spot Bitcoin ETF seemed to be flowing right back out. The hype is dying out, I guess. According to Leviathan CH, the annualized premium for Bitcoin futures fell to 7.5% on April 30th, a drop from 11% just a week earlier. While banks give you 1.2% on your money, these people want to make 11% on investments, because that's how institutions work. When banks invest, they want to make 11%, but they give you driblets. That's how it goes. So this is why everything's tanking. In technical analysis terms, the coin's compression period, which began on April 9th, the coin being Bitcoin, has been broken, and the failure to breach 71,000 resistance point has led to a series of lower highs, culminating in today's bearish movement. The EMA 10 EMA, and 55 for Bitcoin are touching, meanwhile indicating the beginning of a death cross in which the EMA 55 turns higher than the 10 EMA. This suggests that traders would need to hold the assets for longer to become profitable. The bearish forecast is thus still in play, with possible support near 60. You have to keep in mind also that after the halving, miners are making a lot fewer Bitcoin, and so there is a chance that a lot of miners have been selling their stash in order to cover the expenses, possibly to purchase more equipment to expand their productions, or possibly to pack it up, because I mean Bitcoin it was hovering at about 63,000 yesterday, which is all-time high, close to the all-time high as it ever been. And so with all the information, with all the news, with all the FUD coming out, it's quite likely that a lot of people were selling their Bitcoin at these highs to make up the losses that they may be facing due to the halving. And Ethereum tends to follow Bitcoin as it always does, and so that's where we see a downturn on Ethereum. Now, when you go to Google and you type in Powell announcement, you have, what can we expect from Powell and the Fed tomorrow? Wall Street stocks fall as market weighs strong wage data Fed meeting. So the market, basically the crypto market and the S&P market and all that stuff hinge on the announcement from the Fed. What can we expect from Powell and the Fed tomorrow? Federal Reserve Open Market Committee meeting concludes tomorrow at 2 p.m. Jerome Powell announced his benchmark interest rate decision. While at the start of the year, many have predicted that Powell's promised interest rate cuts would be well underway by now, stubbornly high inflation has pushed the predicted schedule of cuts back significantly. After the U.S. Consumer Price Index rose again in March, markets are largely predicting that Powell will hold interest rates steady once again. Experts weighed in on Powell in viewing the U.S. economy and the battle with inflation going into the meeting. They explored how Powell's decisions might impact what the Bank of Canada decides to do with interest rates here, and offered some guidance as to what investors may want to watch for at Powell's press conference. The fundamental focus, however, remains on inflation. So there is the chance of interest rates remaining high is quite high as well, and so that's why the market's tanking. People are just not willing to risk it, and I guess if the news is positive, then we should probably see the market bounce back up very quickly. If it's not, then we may be seeing further retracements. The Fed's main message after tomorrow's rate decision will likely be that policy needs more time. The next move will likely be a rate cut, and the board is in wait-to-see mode until the Fed gets more clarity on inflation. They also foresee a slowdown in quantitative tightening by lowering the upper limit on monthly treasury redemptions from 60 trillion to 30 trillion. Reactions in interest rates and currencies are expected to be limited. We suspect Powell is comfortable pricing this year's rate cuts insignificantly, the economist said, and will likely find it difficult to hawk the market. Since the beginning of the year, the Fed's hopes of relieving economic pressure with lower borrowing costs have faded. Inflation is on the rise again. The economists worry that the most persistent causes of price rises will become more difficult to mitigate. These unwelcome surprises have led forecasters to expect fewer rate cuts, possibly toward the end of the year. So things are not looking too great. Not too great right now. Additionally to all that, to the expected announcement from the Fed, Grayscale seems to be seeing some outflows of Bitcoin. The Grayscale has sent $245 million worth of Bitcoin to Coinbase. And why are they sending there? Coinbase is supposed to be the custodian for the ETF, so that's a possibility. But Coinbase is also a crypto exchange market, which could possibly mean that Grayscale is posing at selling its Bitcoin. Crypto markets have shed nearly 200 billion off their market cap in the last 24 hours, as one of the industry's biggest player appears keen to unload their coins. According to crypto, the anonymizing platform Arkham digital asset manager Grayscale has sent nearly $250 million worth of Bitcoin to Coinbase, potentially to sell on the open market. Now, we don't know, right? Because like I said, Coinbase is supposed to be the custodian for the ETF Bitcoins. So it might be that Grayscale was sending their Bitcoin to Coinbase for that purpose. But of course, it could be that they're trying to sell it. Akram's data shows Grayscale sending Bitcoin to Coinbase Prime or addresses associated with Coinbase, mostly in batches of 42 million. According to Arkham, Grayscale also deposited considerable amounts of altcoins, including Ethereum, Avalanche, Matic, Lido, Uniswap, and Chainlink. After the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) approved spot Bitcoin exchange-traded funds, Grayscale saw billions in outflows as holders of the firm's Bitcoin Trust opted for ETFs with lower fees. So apparently the fees at Grayscale are too high, and a lot of their money just went poof to other ETF exchanges, quite possibly. On the lower side, I guess, Solana sees momentum dwindle as updates fail to fix congestion. Solana struggles with dwindling momentum and persistent congestion despite network updates, while technical analysis shows sell signals. So Solana is struggling to keep up with the hype, it seems. So I guess we have to wait and see what's going to happen to Solana. And then finally, the last thing that I've been hearing about lately, it's the new thing, why the Eigenlayers airdrop is controversial. So Eigenlayer is an airdrop that's been the newest chitter chatter on X. It seems everybody's been talking about it. I've been seeing posts left and right about Eigenlayers, and so apparently there is a controversy on that. Users of the Ethereum restaking pioneer Eigenlayer, many of whom are about to be rewarded with a massive airdrop of a new Eigen token, are voting with their dollars in response to what some have called Eigen Labs' overly complicated white paper and relatively limited rewards. Users have withdrawn about 150,000 ETH, worth about 457 million from the platform. Eigenlayer Labs, which recently raised 100 million from venture capital firm Anderson Horowitz, essentially pioneered the concept of restaking, the ability to reuse capital to staked on Ethereum to simultaneously secure other blockchains. Nearly 16 billion has been locked on the platform, which has been called the single biggest innovation in crypto years. According to the Eigen Foundation's announcement on Monday, 15% of the initial 1.67 billion Eigen tokens will be set aside for the community and distributed over multiple seasons. Early users who accrued points will be airdropped the first 5% of those rewarded tokens, with 1 point equating to 1 token. However, many are annoyed with the project's plan of particular concern is that the token will be initially non-transferable, essentially making the cash reward worthless. Additionally, 30% of the tokens will go to Eigen Labs investors, with another 25 earmarked for early contributors. While investors and early contributors also won't be able to immediately sell their tokens, the vesting schedule starts when they receive the tokens, raising concerns a lot of tokens will be sold off once they become transferable. There's always a catch, like nothing is free. If you are promised the stars, don't expect to get them. And so Eigenlayer, I guess that was the case. All of the staking contracts, you know, back in the days, I don't know, people were making money left and right, buying and dumping. There were no lockups, and so people would buy, invest into projects, and then everybody would dump. But now these companies smartened up, and I guess if you, I don't know, I've never invested into Eigenlayer, but people must have, and you know, they expected the stars. But of course, when you have tokens sitting in a wallet and you're not able to transfer them out, you're not able to sell them, then they are useless. And when the market begins to dump and the unlocks happen in the bear market, then who cares? The tokens are useless by then. The revenue is useless. The gains are meaningless when the market tumbles. Eigenlayer team and investors are getting 55%, but stakers are getting only 5%. Makes sense, makes perfect sense. The money that that was generated from people staking is going to the team and the early investors, basically the people that have directly communicated with the team. Granted, it could be that the majority of the money that Eigenlayer has collected is from these early investors, but you know, this is a huge discrepancy, so that's a problem as well. So I guess people are having a bit of a heyday with that airdrop. So as you can see, there's a lot of FUD that's happening in the market, and these are essentially the reasons for the downturn. These are essentially the reasons for why we are seeing this massive crash right now today. And we still have some time for the announcement from the Fed. It could be that it could get worse. It could still get worse. Peter Schiff, the perpetual bear, is saying that Bitcoin will crash to 20,000. We all know that's impossible, but that's his stance. But whether we will see further downturn in Bitcoin or not depends on what the Fed announces, pretty much. And it's always a spiral. Once things start to go down, the longs get liquidated, more money is taken out of the market, the prices of Bitcoin and every other cryptocurrencies tumble further down, and it's a vicious cycle that perpetuates itself. But there is a stop. A silver lining to all of this madness is that, like I said, whenever somebody's selling, there must be somebody else buying, and the market will bounce back up. It might take some time, but it will bounce back up. It's only been days since the halving. The retracement is expected, and keep in mind that because of that expectations, the low prices of Bitcoin right now are being bought up, and I bet you any money that within the next couple of weeks we're gonna hear a lot more YouTubers, a lot more articles coming out saying that the Bitcoin supply is running out, that the institutional investors have been snapping up Bitcoin at lower prices left and right, and that retail needs to jump back in, or you'll be left empty-handed without any Bitcoin to buy on the market, and we will see Bitcoin prices skyrocket again. It's going to happen because that's the cyclical nature of the market. So far, it hasn't led us astray, and it's going to happen this time. There's going to be a lot of FUD, a lot of blood on the streets, a lot of panic, but this is where the money is made, and smart money knows that, and this is what they lead people to do. And people, the plebs, us, tend to follow. We are very emotional. Most people are emotional. The investors are not. They're detached. They see how the market works. They cause panic. And oftentimes I get the feeling that the large investors fuel the news. So whenever there is a bit of news, like Powell is going to be making an announcement tomorrow, there is a high chance that the market is being pushed to a certain level. When market makers begin to sell and push the volume down, causing the market to dip purposely, on the foot of these announcements in order to be able to cause further panic and lower the prices so they can get back in and make additional gains further on. So don't be cowed into this. Just know that what happened in the past will happen in the future, and we just hit the Bitcoin halving and expect about a year or so of massive gains, massive eye-watering gains coming your way. If any of this was informative, then make sure to smash up the like, subscribe to the channel, consider joining memberships on the channel by simply hitting the join button on the channel. You can become a crypto cat or crypto kitten. I'll appreciate the hell out of you. But whatever you do, make sure to share and come back for another video tomorrow. I know this was a long one. Peace, crypto father out. See you tomorrow.